The crimson fleet of the Vorthon Empire hung like deadly stars above the conquered world of Zephyria. Admiral Kithfer watched from his command deck as the last of the planet's defenders were dragged away in chains. Her blue skin marked them. As another inferior species destined for the mining worlds or the gladiator pits. How many does that make, Commander? Kithfer asked, his reptilian eyes gleaming with satisfaction. 847 successful conquests, Admiral replied. His second in command, updating the holographic display that showed their expanding empire. Each red dot represented a world under Vorthon control. Each one a testament to their military superiority. Kithfer's scaled lips curled into what might have been a smile. 3,000 years of conquest had made the Vorthon the undisputed masters of the galaxy. Their plasma weapons could melt through any known armor. Their quantum shields deflected all primitive projectiles. And their war machines moved faster than light itself. No species had ever posed a real threat to their dominance. Bridge doors hissed open, and Communications Officer Veltar entered with a datapad clutched in his clawed hands. Admiral, we've received a report from the Outer Rim scouts. We've detected something unusual. Kithfer barely looked up from his victory reports. Another primitive civilization begging for mercy. Add them to the conquest list. Sir, it's just radio signals. It's very basic transmissions from a system called Sol. The third planet appears to have some form of industrial development, but nothing that would classify as space-worthy. The Admiral finally turned his attention to the report. The readings showed electromagnetic signatures consistent with early technological development radio waves, electrical power grids, and what appeared to be crude combustion engines. It was almost laughably primitive compared to Vorthon Quantum. Technology? Class 7 designation? Kithfer asked, using the Empire's standard classification for worlds barely worth their attention. Yes, sir. Perfect for resource extraction. The planet has abundant water and minerals. Inhabitants call themselves humans, according to the signal intercepts. Kithfer studied the orbital scans of Earth. The planet looked peaceful enough. With swirling white clouds and blue oceans, small cities dotted the continents, connected by primitive transportation networks. Their most advanced aircraft moved slower than a Vorthon child's toy. And their weapons appeared to be crude chemical explosives. Any space-based defenses? He asked, though he already knew the answer. None detected, Admiral. They've managed to put a few small satellites in orbit and landed on their moon, but that's the extent of their capabilities. Our analysts estimate they're at least 500 years behind our current technology level. The Admiral dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. Standard colonization protocol, then. Send a single harvest ship with minimal escort. The locals will surrender once they see our plasma batteries. We'll be done in a week.
Open Feltar.
Hesitated, sir. There's something else. The intercepted transmissions show they have something called nuclear weapons, primitive fusion devices. Kithfer laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Nuclear fusion? We mastered that. Technology 3 millennia ago. Their most powerful weapons probably couldn't scratch our shield generators. The truth was, the Vorthon had grown complacent. For 3,000 years, every species they encountered had followed the same pattern. They would put up token resistance, realize they were hopelessly outmatched, and then submit to Vorthon rule. The reptilian conquerors had perfected their approach. Arrive with overwhelming force, demonstrate their superior technology, and watch entire civilizations collapse in despair. Prepare the harvest ship Dominator, Kithfer ordered. Captain, Zexamore can handle this assignment. Tell him to expect standard resistance, a few primitive aircraft, maybe some ground-based missiles. Nothing that should delay the operation. As the communications officer left to relay the orders, Kithfer returned to his victory celebration. The Zephyrian homeworld would provide excellent slaves for the mining operations in the Andromeda sector. Their natural resistance to radiation made them perfect for working in the Empire's most dangerous facilities. He pulled up the galactic map once more, admiring the sea of red dots that represented Vorthon dominance. Soon, there would be another added to the collection of small, blue world called Earth. The humans would join the countless other species that had learned to fear the crimson banners of the Empire. In the distance, the Dominator began its journey toward the Sol system. carrying a crew of 200 Vorthon soldiers and enough firepower to level a dozen cities. Captain Zexamore had been given simple orders: secure the planet, catalog the resources, and prepare the population for transport to the slave worlds. It would be, they all believed, just another routine conquest. The humans would see the Vorthon ships descending through their atmosphere, witness the power of plasma weapons, and surrender just like all the others had done. Within a month, Earth would be another red dot on the Imperial map. Admiral Kithfer retired to his quarters that night, satisfied with another successful campaign. He had no way of knowing that he had just made the greatest miscalculation in Vorthon history. The humans were about to teach the galaxy's most powerful empire a lesson they would never forget. The warning sirens screamed across. Seoul, as Commander Hyunwoo Park stared at the radar screens in disbelief. 3 massive objects were dropping through Earth's atmosphere, their heat signatures unlike anything in human aerospace databases. The ships were enormous siege, one the size of a city block end. They moved with impossible grace despite their bulk. From Tokyo, London, and New York, Lieutenant Sujin Kim reported from her station. Similar objects appearing over major population centers worldwide. Park grabbed his radio as the ground shook beneath their underground command center. All units, this is not a drill. We have hostile contact. Repeat, hostile contact confirmed. Ground Captain Minho Lee was already scrambling his fighter squadron when the first alien weapon fired. The plasma beam struck downtown Tokyo with the force of a small sun, turning steel and concrete into glowing vapor in seconds. The shockwave shattered windows 50 kilometers away. "My God," whispered Dr. Donghai and SEO from his laboratory in Busan, watching the destruction through satellite feeds. "The energy output is impossible. They're using some kind of controlled fusion beam." But instead of panic, something unexpected happened. Emergency broadcasts crackled across every frequency as military commanders coordinated their response. Instead of surrender, he chose to fight. Major Jihai Choi's Special Forces team had been studying the alien ships through telescopes since they first appeared as dots in the sky. The hull plating looks thick, but there are exhaust ports near the rear section, she reported to Park. "If we can get close enough, ... Captain Minho Lee's voice came through the radio.com despite the chaos around him. "This is Eagle Squadron. We can't match their firepower, but we can give you that opening, Major." Park watched the tactical display as 12 human fighter jets rose to meet the alien vessel hovering over Seoul. The Vorthon ship's defensive systems activated, sending streams of plasma fire toward the approaching aircraft. 3 jets disappeared in balls of fire, then 2 more. "Target their weapon systems," Lee ordered his remaining pilots. "Even if we can't destroy them, maybe we can blind them." The kamikaze attack came without warning. Lee's damaged fighter, trailing smoke and fire, suddenly accelerated toward the alien ship's bridge section. The explosion was small compared to the massive vessel, but it created a crucial breach in the hull. "Now," Choi shouted, leading her team through the gap torn in the ship's armor. The aliens inside were tall, reptilian creatures wearing advanced armor that gleamed like liquid metal. But their weapons were just machines, and machines could be captured. The fighting inside the ship was brutal and close. The Vorthon soldiers had energy weapons that could burn through concrete, but they had never faced humans in hand-to-hand combat. Choi's team used grenades, knives, and desperate courage to overcome their technologically superior enemies. Within hours, Dr. Seo was examining captured Vorthon plasma rifles in his laboratory. "The power source is incredible," he muttered, carefully dismantling the alien weapon. "Some kind of miniaturized fusion cell. If we can understand how it works..." The breakthrough came when SEO discovered that the Vorthon technology operated on principles similar to human fusion research, just centuries more advanced. "It's not magic," he told Park over the radio. "It's just very sophisticated engineering. And if they can build it, we can copy it." The war that followed lasted 3 months. The Vorthon had expected a quick victory over a primitive species. They found themselves fighting an enemy that adapted with terrifying speed. Every day, human weapons became more deadly as engineers like SEO reverse-engineered captured alien technology. The aliens' plasma weapons were turned against their own ships. Their communication systems were hacked and used to coordinate human attacks. Even their advanced armor was studied and improved upon by human scientists working around the clock. Captain Zexamore, commander of the Vorthan invasion force, sent increasingly desperate reports back to Admiral Kithfer. The humans refused to surrender, to capture our equipment, and somehow make it work for them. We've lost 4 ships and over half our ground forces. The tide turned when Major Choi's team captured a Vorthan navigation computer intact. The device contained detailed star charts showing the location of every world in the Vorthan Empire, their military installations, and their trade routes. "We have their map," Choi reported to Park, her voice tired but triumphant. "We know where they come from, and we know how to get there." The final battle took place in Earth's orbit. The remaining Vorthan ships, battered and running low on ammunition, tried to retreat to hyperspace, but human forces, now armed with captured alien weapons, pursued them relentlessly. Admiral Kithfer received the final transmission from Earth with growing horror. "Sir, we're withdrawing from the Sol system. Humans have captured most of our equipment and several of our ships. They're demanding we leave immediately or face total destruction." The Admiral's hand shook as he composed his report too high. Command, for the first time in 3,000 years, a Vorthon invasion force had been defeated. But worse than that, the humans now possessed Vorthon technology and knowledge of the Empire's locations. "Recommend immediate quarantine of the Sol system," he transmitted. "The humans are not like the others. They learn too quickly, fight too hard, and never give up." But as the battered Vorthan fleet limped home, human engineers were already studying the hyperspace drives left behind in the wreckage. Within months, the first human ships would be ready to leave the Sol system. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. Captain Tae-Young Han gripped the command chair as his ship, New Sol, emerged from hyperspace. The blue-green world of Kepler 442b hung before them like a jewel, but Han knew the beauty hid terrible suffering. For 200 years, the Vorthon had used this planet as a mining colony, working enslaved aliens to death in the deep tunnels. "Captain, we're detecting a Vorthon garrison fleet in orbit," reported Navigation Officer Young-Soo Park. 3 cruisers and a dozen patrol ships. They're hailing us. Han smiled grimly. The Vorthan ships looked exactly like the ones that had attacked Earth 5 years ago, but everything had changed since then. His ship carried weapons that would have seemed impossible back then. Human engineering combined with captured alien technology. "Put them through," Han ordered. The reptilian face of Commander Velkoth appeared on the main screen. His scaled features twisted with irritation. "Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted Vorthan space. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." "This is Colonel Yoonji Park of the Terran Liberation Fleet," came the response from Han's communications officer following their planned script. "You have exactly 1 hour to evacuate this world and release all enslaved populations."
Of course.
Eyes widened in disbelief. "Humans. Impossible. Your pathetic species was contained to your home system." What the Vorthon commander didn't know was that 17 similar conversations were happening simultaneously across Vorthon space. Lieutenant Commander Woo Jin-yoon floated in his stealth ship hidden among the asteroids, watching as human forces appeared like ghosts throughout the Empire. "Phoenix Team report," Yoon whispered into his communicator. "Target acquired," came Captain Min-ji Lee's voice from the Vega system. 3 slave transport ships, minimal escort. Ready to proceed. Similar reports flooded in from systems across the galaxy. The humans had spent 5 years preparing for this moment, building ships in secret, training crews, and studying Vorthan weaknesses. Now, they struck everywhere at once. The battle at Kepler 44 to be lasted only 20 minutes. The Vorthan ships, designed for overwhelming force against helpless enemies, couldn't adapt to human tactics. Han's fleet attacked from multiple directions. Using the planet's gravity well and asteroid field to their advantage, "Their shields are down," reported Weapons Officer Ji-won Kim. "All batteries focus fire on the command ship." The modified plasma cannons, improved versions of captured Vorthon weapons, store through the alien hulls like paper. Within minutes, The surviving Vorthan ships were fleeing toward hyperspace, leaving behind their mining operation and thousands of enslaved workers. But the real victory came later, when Major General Hyjin Lim stood in the liberated colony of Proxima Centauri. The freed slaves were unlike anything humans had encountered before. Cathari had pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes that seemed to hold centuries of sadness. "We thank you for our freedom," said their leader through the translation device. Built by Dr. Soo-young Kim. The Cathari's voice was musical, almost like singing. "But we do not understand. Why do you fight the Vorthan? They have not enslaved your people." Lim looked around at the mining tunnels where generations of Cathari had died in darkness. "Because slavery is wrong, no matter who suffers from it. Every thinking being deserves to be free." The Clary leader's eyes filled with something the humans had never seen before: hope. "For 600 years, we have dreamed of this day. Thought the Vorthan were too powerful, that no one could stand against them." "They're not gods," said Captain Sujin Lee, who had helped plan the liberation. "They're just bullies with better weapons. And bullies can be beaten if you fight smart instead of fighting fair." Dr. Kim's translation software had been working overtime, intercepting communications from across the galaxy. The reports were incredible human forces had struck at mining colonies, slave ships, and military outposts simultaneously. Vorthan Empire, which had ruled through fear for 3,000 years, was in chaos. "The beautiful thing about tyranny," explained Commander Dongman Park to a group of freed Cathari workers, "is that it creates its own enemies. Every species the Vorthan enslaved is a potential ally for us." The Cathari delegation gathered in what had once been the Vorthan Overseer's office. Their leader, an elderly female named Cythera, spoke carefully through the translator. "Our people have skills the Vorthan never allowed us to use. We understand their technology because we were forced to maintain it. We know their patrol routes because we supplied their ships." "Are you saying you want to join the fight?" asked Lim. "We are saying we have been waiting 600 years for someone to give us a chance to strike back." Within weeks, Cathari engineers were working alongside human technicians, combining their detailed knowledge of Vorthan systems with human creativity. The results were remarkable new weapons that could penetrate Vorthan shields, stealth technology that made ships invisible to their sensors, and communication networks that allowed coordination across the galaxy. The liberation of Kepler 442b had been just the beginning. As word spread through the underground networks of enslaved worlds, other species began to believe the impossible: the Vorthan could be defeated. From his command ship orbiting Earth, Admiral Kithfer read the reports. With growing horror, human forces had liberated 43 worlds in a single day. Worse, they weren't fighting like conquerors, they were fighting like liberators, turning every freed world into a new base of operations. "Sir," reported his aide, "we're receiving surrender requests from garrison commanders across the Outer Rim. They're outnumbered and outgunned." Kithfer stared at the galactic map, watching as red dots turned green one by one. The humans had done something the Vorthan had never imagined possible. They had turned the Empire's own size against it. The war for the galaxy had truly begun, deep in the hollow heart of asteroid X-47. Admiral Sung-Ho Park studied the faces around the War Council table. 2 years ago, he could never have imagined such a gathering. Crystalline beings that looked like living gemstones sat beside blue-skinned Cathari, while the towering Zephions, with their golden fur, discussed battle plans with human officers. "The Nexari ships can stay invisible for up to 6 hours, reported Captain Yujin Lee, nodding toward their crystal-like allies. "But their weapons are weak. They're better suited for reconnaissance and surprise attacks." The Nexari delegate, a being whose body sparkled like cut diamonds, spoke in musical tones that the translation device converted to human speech. "We have hidden in the shadows for 3 centuries, waiting for someone brave enough to challenge the Vorthan. Now that day has come." General Jamin Kwan pulled up a tactical display showing the latest battle reports. "The Cathari telepathic network is our greatest advantage. They can coordinate attacks across multiple star systems without using radio. Communications the Vorthan can intercept. Cythera, the elderly Cathari leader, closed her large eyes in concentration. My people speak mind to mind across the galaxy. When we strike Draconis, every Cathari in the Empire will know instantly. They will be ready to help from within. The Zephyons, tall and proud with their golden fur and fierce eyes, had been the last to join the coalition. Their leader, War Chief Kalen, stood nearly 3 meters tall and spoke in a voice like rolling thunder. The Vorthan destroyed our homeworld 50 years ago. We have waited long enough for revenge. Park nodded respectfully. Your people's knowledge of Vorthon military tactics has been invaluable. Without your intelligence, we never would have won at Kepler 44 to be. The breakthrough that changed everything came from Dr. Myung-Shin's laboratory hidden in the asteroid's core. She had been working day and night to combine human quantum computers with Nexari crystal technology. The result was something neither species could have created alone. The new weapons are ready for testing, she reported, exhaustion clear in her voice. The Nexari crystals can channel quantum energy in ways our computers can calculate but never generate. Together, they create a beam that ignores Vorthan shield harmonics completely. Colonel In-ho Kim activated his stealth suit and stepped forward. For the past month, he had been conducting reconnaissance missions deep in Vorthan space, sometimes spending weeks alone in enemy territory. I've mapped the Draconis system defenses. The homeworld has orbital weapons platforms that could destroy 1,000 ships, but the Cathari intelligence is correct. There's a weakness. The holographic display showed the Vorthan capital system in detail. Massive space stations ringed the planet like deadly jewelry, each one bristling with enough firepower to sterilize a world. But Kim's reconnaissance had revealed something the Vorthon had never expected anyone to discover. The orbital platforms are powered by quantum reactors located on the planet's surface, he explained. If we can destroy the power stations, the entire defense grid goes dark. Lieutenant Colonel So-Young Jang had been studying the tactical data for hours. It's suicide. The surface is protected by atmospheric shields that can deflect any weapon we have. Not any weapon, Dr. Shin said quietly. The new quantum disruptors can penetrate the shields, but only if fired from very close range. Someone would have to get through the orbital defenses first. The room fell silent as everyone understood what she meant. Getting close enough to? The planet's surface would require flying through the heaviest defenses in the galaxy. It would be a one-way mission. War Chief Kalen stood, his golden fur bristling with determination. My people have waited 50 years to see Vorthan blood spilled. We will carry your quantum weapons to their surface. You don't have to do this, Park said. We can find another way. There is no other way, Kalen replied. The Zephyons have lived for revenge. Let us die for freedom instead. The Nexari delegate's crystalline body pulsed with inner light. Our cloaking technology can hide the Zephion ships until they reach the atmosphere. After that, speed and courage must carry them through. Cythera spoke through the translator, her musical voice filled with ancient sadness. The Cathari will coordinate the surface uprising. When the shields fall, every slave in the capital will know it is time to fight. Admiral Park looked around the table at beings from across the galaxy, all united by a simple idea that freedom was worth any sacrifice. How many ships do we have for the final assault? General Quan consulted his datapad. 4,006. 100 vessels from 43 different species. The largest fleet in galactic history, and the Vorthon. 8,000 ships defending Draconis, plus the orbital platforms? The odds were terrible. But Park remembered the first day Vorthan ships had appeared over Earth. Humans had been outnumbered then too. But they had won through courage and stubbornness. Now they had allies who brought their own kinds of strength. Do we attack? Asked Captain Lee. Park stood, his decision made. We leave in 72 hours. Send word to every free world in the galaxy. Tell them the liberation of Draconis begins soon. As the War Council dispersed, beings from dozens of worlds prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The Vorthan had ruled through fear for 3,000 years. They had never faced an enemy that fought. For something greater than conquest, they had never faced an enemy that fought for hope. The massive Vorthon warships filled the dark space. around Draconis Prime like angry metal beasts. Their weapons glowed bright red, ready to destroy anyone who dared attack their most important world. For 3,000 years, no enemy had ever reached this far into Vorthan's space. Today would be different. Admiral Changmin SEO stood on the bridge of his flagship. Watching the enemy fleet through the main screen, his hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. This was the moment everything would change. Behind him, hundreds of coalition ships waited for his command. Humans, aliens who had escaped Vorthan's slavery, and even some former Vorthan soldiers who had joined their cause, all working together for the first time in galactic history. "Begin the attack," CO said quietly into his communicator. The space battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Laser beams cut through the darkness like deadly lightning. Ships exploded in bright flashes of fire and metal. The Vorthan defenders fought hard, using every weapon they had. Their famous dreadnought guard ships, each one the size of a small city, moved forward to crush the attackers. But the coalition had something the Vorthans did not expect. They could change their plans quickly. When the enemy moved left, the coalition moved right. When the Vorthons expected a direct attack, the coalition split into small groups and attacked from many directions at once, while the space battle raged above. Captain G1 Park was leading a secret mission on the planet's surface. Her team of special soldiers had one job: destroy the energy shields protecting Draconis Prime. These shields were so powerful that no weapon could break through them from space. They had to be turned off from the inside. Park's team moved like shadows through the Vorthan military base. The alien soldiers guarding the shield controls never saw them coming. Colonel Junho Yang, the team's technical expert, plugged captured Vorthan access codes into the main computer. His fingers moved quickly across the strange alien keyboard. "Got it," Yang whispered. "Shields are down in 30 seconds. High above." The planet, Admiral SEO, saw the energy barrier flicker and disappear. Now the real battle could begin. His ships dove toward the surface like hunting birds, their weapons targeting the Vorthan command centers and weapon platforms. The fighting on Draconis Prime was fierce but short. The Vorthan army had grown lazy after thousands of years of easy victories. They were used to fighting weak enemies who gave up quickly. Coalition forces were different. They had been fighting for their freedom for years, and they would not stop until they won. General Hyojin Kim kicked open the doors to the Vorthan throne room. Her boots made loud sounds on the polished floor as she walked into the chamber where alien emperors had ruled the galaxy for so long. The room was huge, with golden walls covered in pictures of Vorthan victories. At the far end sat the throne, itself a massive chair carved from a single piece of blue crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. But the throne was empty. The last Vorthan emperor had run away when he saw that his forces were losing. "What should we do with all this?" asked Major Kyung Soo Yoon, pointing at the crown, scepter, and other symbols of imperial power scattered around the room. Commander Dayun Choi looked at the throne for a long moment. Many conquerors throughout history would have sat in that chair and declared themselves the new ruler. But Choi had a different idea. "Take it out," she said. "All of it." Her soldiers were confused, but they followed orders. They carefully removed the ancient throne, the golden decorations, and all the symbols of Vorthan rule. In their place, Choi ordered her team to install something completely different: a round table with chairs around it. "Why a circle?" asked because Choi explained, "Circles have no head. No one person sits above the others. Everyone is equal." 6 months later, that same room looked very different. Where once a single alien emperor had made decisions for billions of beings across the galaxy, now representatives from dozens of different species sat around the circular table. Humans sat next to former Vorthon slaves, aliens who had been enemies. 4 centuries now worked together to solve problems. Dr. Youngmin Lee, speaking for all humans, watched as the new Galactic Republic held its first meeting. The beings around the table were writing a constitution, a set of laws that would protect the rights of every thinking creature in the galaxy, no matter what planet they came from or what they looked like. Some of the representatives had once been slaves. Others had been soldiers in the Vorthan army. Few had even been Vorthan nobles who had lost everything when their empire fell. But now, they were all working together, trying to build something better than what had come before. War was over. The Vorthan Empire was gone forever. But humanity had done more than just win a military victory. They had shown the entire galaxy what freedom really meant, not the freedom to rule over others, but the freedom to choose your own path and to live as equals with all other thinking beings. The stars themselves seemed brighter now that they shone on a free galaxy.